Welcome back, budgeteers. Coach Nino Villa here, disciple of Christ, husband, father, and financial coach. And today on the New Money Habits podcast, I want to talk to you about the top 3 budget mistakes most people don't even know they're making. Hey there, budgeteers. The new year is here, and you know what that means. It's time for fresh starts and new habits. If one of your goals is to get better with your money, New Money Habits has exactly what you need to kick things off right: the Payday Power Planner. This isn't just any budget tool. The Payday Power Planner is designed to work with your pay periods, not just the calendar month. Why does that matter? Because it helps you to see exactly when your money is coming in and going out. No surprises, no guesswork. With the Payday Power Planner, you'll know if you're working with a surplus or facing a deficit, so you can make informed decisions about your money. It's not just a plan, it's the clarity and control you've been looking for to start the new year strong. Make this the year you finally build new habits for financial freedom. Grab your free Payday Power Planner from New Money Habits today and take the first step toward a better financial future. Visit newmoneyhabits.com now, because this year it's time for a better plan for your money. All right, budgeteers, if you're anything like me, this is how you began budgeting. You sat down, you wrote out what your income was for a month and all of the expenses that you could think of. But oftentimes they were just the reoccurring expenses, things like your rent or your mortgage, your car payment, your car insurance, your gas or electric, cable, when that was a thing, streaming services. So you sit down and you put together a budget, or what you think is a budget, and it's got your income and it's got your most obvious expenses. And so you subtracted your expenses from your income and you saw if you had money left over, and then you started doing something else with that leftover, which means your budget wasn't actually done. What am I talking about? Well, like I said, if you're anything like me, I would list out my income, subtract out my known expenses, and then I would look to see if I had anything left over to do things like go to the grocery store or to put gas in the car. These things weren't actually included in my budget, so that wasn't a budget. This is the number one mistake people are making. The number one mistake people are making is creating a budget that they think is a budget that isn't actually a budget. A budget carefully plans for everything that you need to do with money. And so it's not enough to list just your income minus your known expenses, or better said, your reoccurring expenses. Of course, we're going to include rent or your mortgage, your car payment, car insurance. But we also know that we need to put food on the table every single month. We also know that we have to gas up the car so that we can get to work and back. And there are other things that are going to come up. In certain months of the year, you might have an annual subscription that's renewing, or you might have to re-register the vehicle. Gift giving is going to be a part of certain months and not others. December is always going to include gift giving, but February may or may not. And so a budget just becomes a plan. I know that the word budget sounds sometimes archaic, sometimes like a cuss word. Sometimes it sounds like it's really limiting and not fun. But a budget really is just a plan. Now, maybe you're not a big planner. And so one of the things that you are working on and trying to get better at is being a better planner. And so a budget's just a plan for your money. It's just a plan that says, hey, this is what I have coming in. This is what's going out. But again, it has to include everything that's happening in this month. So if we're making a budget for the month of September, we have to think to ourselves, what events are coming up in the month of September that I need to be budgeting for? Is it back to school time? Is there a birthday or an anniversary that's going to be celebrated? Is there a trip that's going to be taken, or something entertainment-wise that I'm trying to participate in? I know for me, I just had a conversation earlier today about, in the month of October, there's a football game that I want to attend. The family and I will be doing some traveling while we're in Buffalo, New York. the Bills will be playing a home game, I would love to take at least my son, if not the entire family, to go and enjoy this game. But that's something that I have to be thinking about. I have to be planning for, and it has to become a part of my budget. It certainly has to become a part of my October budget, but because it's a slightly larger expense, I'm thinking about it a couple of months early. But a budget is a plan for your money. And so the better we can get at planning for our money, the more in control we are. We control our money doesn't control us. We get to align that plan to our goals. So maybe you have a savings goal. Maybe you're trying to set money aside for a rainy day in what we would call a peace of mind fund. And a budget allows you to do that. A plan for your money allows you to see income minus all expenses, surplus or deficit. And if I have a surplus, how am I going to manage it? And how will I use that surplus to achieve the financial goals that I have? Now, income minus expenses, you may find yourself in a deficit. And so now the question becomes, how do I get myself out of the deficit? How do I get the income up? How do I get the expenses down so that I'm in surplus and then I can manage the surplus according to my goals? Perhaps you're in a debt elimination phase. And so for you, surplus means what is the next debt that I can attack and how much can I attack it with? So that number one mistake is creating a budget that isn't actually a budget. And it's right up there with not even having a plan. So either you have a plan that's not really a plan, or you don't have a plan at all. And to fix this mistake, it's super simple. You just start mapping out a plan for your money, your income minus your real expenses. If you need a tool to do that, we offer a free Payday Power Planner. You can download that and start creating a real plan for your money. And that plan can help you to achieve the financial goals that you have. If your budget doesn't align to your goals, and if it doesn't reflect what matters to you, it's not going to work for you. So I would encourage you to create a plan that reflects your goals and reflects what matters to you, that actually includes all of your expenses, a real thorough plan so that it will work for you. Hey there, budgeteers. You know, good news can only be good news if there's bad news. So what's the bad news? The bad news is you and I have a deadly disease called sin, and this disease causes us to rebel and disobey God. See, God is holy, righteous, and just, and he cannot be in the presence of sin. So this horrible disease of ours separates us from the God who created us. And the bad news gets worse. There isn't anything you or I can do to make ourselves right with God. We are dead in our sins and on our way to an eternity separated from God. But that's not God's will for us. See, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. God did what only God could do. He made a way for us to be reconciled to him through Jesus Christ. Jesus came into the world to save sinners like you and me. While we were still sinners, storing up God's anger against us for our rebellion and disobedience, Christ died for us. Jesus took the punishment that you and I deserve and have earned. Jesus is the substitute for your punishment and mine. Now, isn't that some good news? The word gospel means good news. The gospel of Jesus Christ is that you and I broke God's law and Jesus paid the fine. When we place our faith and trust in Jesus, we get to experience God's grace and mercy. Our gratitude should turn us from our rebellious and disobedient sin toward God, seeking after him and his righteousness. When we do, God gives us a new heart and a new mind. Praise God for his goodness, and remember, God loves, humans sin, Jesus saves. The second mistake most people don't even know they're making is that they're budgeting month to month rather than paycheck to paycheck. Look, a monthly budget is where you start, but that does not tell the real story. The real story is your paycheck. and your pay periods. If you are paid bi-weekly, then every 2 weeks you should have a plan for money, not once a month. A monthly budget does not account for when that money is coming in and when that money is leaving. We're just looking at the month. So maybe we're looking at the month of September and we're saying, in the month of September, I have 2 pay periods and my paychecks are $2,500 a piece, $5,000 for the month. So in the month of September, I have $5,000 worth of income to use. And then I have these reoccurring monthly bills and these events coming up in September. So those are my expenses. And so income minus expenses gives me surplus or deficit. And then I manage that. What that plan doesn't account for is, when does that income come in September? When are those expenses due in September? And without this information, we can either start paying bills late, get behind on bills, or find out that we actually don't have enough money coming in. We, on paper, for the overall month, we get misled in thinking my income is higher than my expenses. Budgeting by the pay period lets you look at 2 weeks at a time. In this 2 weeks, I got $2,500 coming in, and over the course of the next 2 weeks, these are the expenses that are going out. This income minus those expenses equals surplus or deficit. And then you can look ahead. So when you're doing this for the month, you're looking at both pay periods. Then you look ahead to the next pay period and say, okay, another $2,500 is coming in and these expenses are due. And so now we get a sense of our cash flow. Is our cash flow, do we have a lot of surplus in one pay period and are things really, really tight or in a deficit the next pay period? How can we even that out? How do we make our cash flow in a way that allows us to pay our bills and achieve our financial goals? So looking at just the month of September is not good enough. When is that first paycheck coming in? If you're paid bi-weekly, you end up in a rhythm where, depending on which Fridays you're paid on, assuming it's a Friday, in the month of August, you might just have experienced August 1st, August 15th, and August 31st, 29th as your pay periods. So that worked out really nicely. You got paid on August 1st. But then getting paid on August 30th, 29th means that in September, your first check's not coming until the middle of the month. And your second check for September is coming at the end of the month. So when you are budgeting pay period by pay period, you realize, okay, that August 30th, 29th check obviously needs to cover me for the first half of September. And this becomes more obvious when we're looking at pay period by pay period. If we were just looking at the month, well, in August, it would look like, wow, look, I have a lot of extra income, but my expenses for the most part stay the same. And so I have all this extra money. Well, not really, because unless you're going to wait until the 14th of September to pay your rent that was due on September 1st, you need some of that, quote, extra money in August to cover you for the first part of September. At the risk of sounding like a broken record or beating a dead horse, it's not enough to budget month to month. Really drill down and start budgeting paycheck to paycheck. Now, again, we offer the free Payday Power Planner, and this does that for you. We encourage you to budget for the month, but according to your pay periods. So you're looking at, when is that money coming in? When is it going out? Do I have a surplus for the pay period? Do I have a deficit? Do I have a significant surplus in one pay period and a deficit in the other? And do I have to balance that out? And it just allows your plan to be clearer, more precise. And it's easier to follow that plan and follow through because it's so detailed. The other great thing about it is you have a plan for 14 days. If you're paid bi-weekly, you have a plan for 14 days. You execute the plan and you don't have to concern yourself with it for another 14 days. You map it out first. You solidify that plan on or around payday, and then you go and execute. And once you execute, you get to kind of put it aside. You don't have to concern yourself with your money plan for the next 2 weeks because you've already mapped it out already know what's happening. So the second mistake most people are making that they don't even know is they're budgeting month to month rather than paycheck to paycheck. Start planning pay period to pay period using the Payday Power Planner. Hey there, budgeteers. It's a brand new year, and that means it's time for new habits, starting with your money. Take charge of your finances in 2025 with New Money Habits Financial Coaching. This isn't your typical financial advice. New Money Habits is all about giving you the knowledge, tools, and support to make confident money moves and build a rock solid financial foundation. Here's the deal: we're offering a free discovery session to kick off your journey to financial freedom. That's right, no strings attached. In this session, one of our expert coaches will help you to identify your financial goals and create a better plan for your money. We'll help you master your money mindset, sharpen your money management skills, and keep you accountable every step of the way. Make 2025 the year you say goodbye to financial stress and hello to the freedom you've been dreaming about. Schedule your free discovery session today and start creating the new money habits you need to achieve financial freedom. And the third budgeting mistake that most people make that they don't even know about is confusing their flex categories for some type of free-for-all. Now, there are a couple of categories that I use with clients that could end up looking like this, where it's a flexible category, but that flexibility sometimes can lead to thinking it's a free-for-all. With every single one of my clients, I use a pocket money category, whether we call it spending cash, pocket money, free money, whatever we might call it, but it is truly money that is earmarked for you can spend this however you want. We cap it. We have a limit that puts in the guardrails so that we're not annihilating our financial situation by just saying, hey, I can spend completely freely whatever amount of money I want. But no, we cap it, whether it's $40 a week, $100 a week, depending on a person's budget, whatever that cap is, it's, hey, here's your spending cash. And it's flexible. You can spend it on whatever you want, but we have a cap. With some clients, I have additional categories that still offer flexibility. One of the things that I like to promote, which sounds oxymoronic, is that you can plan for spontaneity. What do you mean you can plan for spontaneity? Well, for some people, they have their pocket money. Every client has their pocket money, but for some, they have an additional category where they know that they like to be spontaneous, that they know they can't plan for everything. So they have a line item on their budget called spontaneity. And most of my clients are managing both their pocket money and their spontaneous cash in cash. So there is a limit, there is a cap, and it offers a guardrail for a category that can otherwise become a free for all. So there's a lot of flexibility. They can spend it on whatever they want. Now, you might be asking yourself, why even have the two separate ones? Why not just have it all just be spending cash and then they can spend it spontaneously? For different people, it's a different mindset. Some of their spontaneous spending is more like something that only comes up every once in a while, but by contributing to like a cash envelope, pay period after pay period after pay period, when a friend calls up and says, hey, I want to go to the game, or hey, do you want to go to this concert? Something that you might not have otherwise been planning for, but you spontaneously want to accept that invitation, you have this money set aside to do that, which it would be different than your pocket money, which might be, instead of having a budget category for, let's say, the drive-through at your favorite coffee shop, your spending money, your pocket money would go to pay for the trip through the drive-through. So there's that difference, right? I know I'm going to go through the drive-through, throughout this pay period. That's not really a spontaneous thing. I know that's going to happen. So I want to have some free money to go and spend that way as I can. Where spontaneity, being spontaneous, is a little bit more about, I didn't even see that opportunity coming. I want to be able to take up on that opportunity if I have the funds to do so. And so we're just planning ahead for the ability to say yes. Notice that we're putting in caps, we're putting in guardrails. Too often, somebody might have a spending or an entertainment category, and the idea becomes, well, whatever I have left over. That's too vague. There's not enough specificity there. You run the risk of overspending because, one, you might not know exactly how much you have left over. So you now get into this bad habit of checking your checking account balance. And then you're trying to determine whether or not you have, like, how much do I actually have to spend? Too often people look at their checking account, they see that they have $600 and they think, oh, I got $600 to spend. No, what auto drafts are coming out of that in the next couple of days? This is exactly why we go back to planning by the pay period so that we know the flow of our cash. So don't be vague. Be specific. Give these categories specific names with specific dollar amounts to cap you. Think about a 2-week period. What's reasonable? What can your budget afford? What's reasonable for your financial situation? And what is realistic? It's not realistic to think, you know what, I'm never going to go through the drive-through at the coffee shop ever again. I'm just going to start making my coffee from home all the time. I mean, that's not completely unreasonable, but it's not likely, not early on. So if you can make that switch, great. But if you can't, be realistic. Be like, you know what? I like going and grabbing this cup of coffee. That's okay. Give yourself permission to do that. Just put some guardrails in place when doing that. One of my clients, the way we did this, she loves to go to Dutch Bros. So she has the Dutch Bros app, and every pay period, we load it up with $30, $40, whatever that is for a 2-week period. Okay. So for a 2-week period, she knows this is what I got to spend on Dutch Bros. Now, once it's gone for that pay period, it's gone, and we're not reloading until we get paid again. So I think it's $30. I don't recall offhand, but let's just call it $30. $30 for 14 days. 14 days. If you spend it in 7, you're done. And then you got to wait 7 days before you can go again. Or if you kind of make a habit of going every couple of days, every 2-3 days, well, then by the time we get to the next pay period, you might even have a small balance left. Maybe there's still $1.46 left on the app, and you're just reloading with another 30. So now you have $31.46 for the next 2 weeks. Just some ideas about how to take a flexible category and put a little bit more structure around it. And so those are the top 3 budget mistakes people are making that they don't even know they're making. They have a budget that's not actually a budget, or they don't have a budget at all. They're budgeting according to the month rather than the pay period, and they're not being specific enough with their flexible categories, and so it becomes a free-for-all. So now it's time to ask yourself, which of these budgeting mistakes hits home for you? And if you're ready to take your money habits to the next level, we've got support for you. You can join the New Money Habits community for free. Check out the link in the description. Or you can become a member of the New Money Habits community for as little as $5 a month and unlock premium tools like our Payday Power Planner Plus. Get expert advice from more than a dozen coaches with specialties in areas such as money and marriage, student loans, taxes, and much more, as well as access to member-only events and group coaching. So no matter where you are in your financial journey, we have a level of support for you. So come check out the New Money Habits community and either join us for free or become a member today. That does it for this episode of the New Money Habits podcast. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure to hit us up on social at New Money Habits and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review to help us spread this message of hope to people looking for a better plan for their money.